So now we are beginning module 12, and this is the first lesson, 12.1, and we are going to be talking about the circumference of circles. So the learning target, I can find the circumference of circles given the radius or diameter using the formulas for the circumference of a circle, and find the radius or diameter of a circle given its circumference. So the vocabulary in this, we are going to learn a center, circle, circumference, diameter, pi, and radius. And we're going to see the connection, especially how, why do we have that measure for pi, etc. Okay. So I've just drawn out a circle. Of course, it's freehand, so it's not going to be a perfect circle. But this is representing a circle. And so if I look at this, what is a circle? A circle is the set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from a point called the center. Okay, so in the middle, okay, I have the center of a circle, and any point that I take from the center to the, any point in the center that is going to the plane, from here to the circumference, that is basically going to have the same measure. All right. So set of all points in the plane that are same distance from a point called the center. Now, that means this part. So if I do this, it doesn't matter which way I go. It is going to be the same distance. So this distance from the center to the circumference, because we don't say perimeter. Perimeter is for the flat surfaces. In a circle, we call the distance outside the shape circumference. Okay, so this is called the circumference. Right, this distance outside the shape, which is the circle, is called the circumference. And so from the center to the circumference, any part over here, this is called the radius, which is represented by r. Okay, so radius is represented by r. And then now look what I'm doing. I'm taking this radius and I am going to extend it to the other part. So just this much is also the radius. It doesn't matter. This is represented by r. Now, when I look at this whole thing is called the diameter. This is called the diameter. So what does that tell me about the diameter? Diameter has how many radiuses in there? This one and this one. So we have two radiuses in a diameter, all right? Or a radius is half the diameter, if you look at that. So let's talk about again, the diameter is the distance across a circle through its center. And the radius is the distance from the center to any point on the circle. And then if I had to come up with an equation to be used to find the diameter of a circle given the radius, what did I just say? Diameter is equal to 2 radiuses. So that is an equation. Remember a formula, we've talked about this over and over again. A formula is always an equation because it's a balance. Something is equal to something. So therefore a diameter is equal to 2r. So that is the equation for this. How can we write an equation to find the radius of a circle? So what was the radius? Radius is half the diameter, or the diameter divided by 2 is going to give me the radius. So diameter divided by 2 would give me the radius. So these are two equations that we need to always remember. Okay, so what is the circumference? Circumference, as we just talked about, is the distance around a circle. Okay, so let's say we are starting here. So this whole distance around the circle is called circumference. Okay, so this entire distance, so this is my circumference of a circle. All right, now the circumference of a circle is proportional to its diameter. Okay, it does not matter what size of the circle you take. You take the biggest circle in the world, you take the tiniest circle, and when you actually take the circumference measure, whatever the measure of the circumference is around the circle, and you divide it by the diameter, you will always see that you end up with the measure of pi. And so that is why when we say, what is pi? That is nothing but you are taking the circumference, you're dividing it by the diameter, and that's how you get that same approximate value of 3.14. Okay, so once again, the exact ratio is what? What did I just say? I said circumference divided by the diameter. All right, and this gives me the value of pi, and pi is here. So that is pi, and it is a Greek letter. Okay, so the value of pi is 3.1415, 3.1415926, and endless. It goes on forever. There is no end. And so very often, because the decimal never ends, it's often approximated. So approximately, and that's the sign that we show approximately, we calculate it as 3.14, or we can also use 22 over 7. 22 over 7 is also the measure for pi. So either you write 3.14 or 22 over 7. That basically means that that is going to be your value for pi. Okay, so now when we look at what is circumference, okay, so we know that this is definitely going to be circumference over the diameter gives me what pi is. Okay, so this is equal to pi. Always, it does, again, as I said, doesn't matter the size of the circle. When I divide the circumference by the diameter, I get pi. All right, so that's why now looking at this, let's think about if I had to find the circumference, what does that make it over here? So circumference would be equal to what? Pi times diameter, right? So it's written as pi times diameter. Circumference is also how many radii make a diameter. So we know that 2 radii make 1 diameter. So we can also say 2 radiuses times pi, that's why written as 2 pi r. So both of these are correct in finding the circumference of a circle. Okay, now when you use a 3.14 or 22 over 7 to find the circumference of a circle, will it be the exact circumference or an approximation? All right, so as we know that the actual value of pi is endless, so that is why we are using an approximate value. See, approximate value of 3.14. So because we are using an approximation, my answer also will be an approximation. All right, so it will be an approximation of that value. All right, so now let us use this example. Trying to get the entire screen. Okay. So Big Ben is a famous clock tower in London, England. The diameter of the clock face is 23 feet. Okay, so this entire thing is the diameter. So it's showing me like this. That means this entire, that is my diameter. Okay, let me see if another color will work better for you to see. Let's see if you can see better with the green maybe. There. Okay, so that is the diameter. Now, when I'm looking at the diameter and it's asking me, find the circumference of the clock face, use 3.14 for pi, and round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. Okay, so I know that circumference, what is circumference equal to? Pi times diameter. Okay, and now what is the value of pi? And we already said value of pi is 3.14, which is an approximate value. Okay, so because I'm using an approximate value, I'm just going to change it to this. So like this is equal, then this became a approximation. So that is why I changed it to the approximate side. Okay, times what is the diameter? Diameter is going to be 23. And now when I multiply this, I get approximately 72 and 2200. Okay, so here is my answer, 72 and 2200. This is after my multiplication. So the distance around the clock face is about 72 and 2200. All right, so once again, in the second line over here, I changed the equal to sign to an approximately equal to symbol. And this was used, why? Because the circumference the pi value of 3.14 was used for pi. So because that's an approximation, the circumference is an approximation and not an exact value. An equal sign can only be used when the answer is an absolutely exact value that is given. All right. Now let's do another problem. Let's look at this. Oh, we can do this one. All right, so let's look at this one. So find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 21 and 2/10 inches. Use 3.14 for pi, round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. Okay, so we know that we have two different formulas. Okay, and so this one is telling me that if I have a circle, this much is going to be, my radius is 21 and 2/10. Right? And now I know that if radius is given, I can use the formula circumference is equal to 2 pi r, because two radiuses make one diameter, this plus this. Right? So therefore, because if I did 21 and 2/10 times 2, what would I get? This whole thing. So if I just did this right across, what would my diameter be? Okay, this would be 42 and 4/10. And that's what my diameter would be. And that's what 2 times r basically means. Okay, so I'm just going to replace the values. This is 2 times I have pi, and so I have times pi times my radius, which is 21 and 2/10. And so basically what am I getting? I'm getting 42 and 4/10 pi. And now we are going to use the value of pi. So therefore, the circumference is now going to change. The equal to sign is going to change into an approximation, because the value of pi is an approximation. Okay, so 42 and 4/10 times 3.14, and I am going to go ahead and multiply this. And so it's going to be approximately 133 and 136,000th. So this is my approximation, and then I am going to round it to the nearest hundredth place value. So based on the rules for rounding, if this is 5 or higher, this number is going to become bigger, right? One more, we go up. So therefore, my answer circumference is approximately 133 and 1400 inches. Okay, so this is my circumference in order to calculate this. So when the radius only is provided. So you can use the formula for the circumference of a circle to find the diameter or radius given the circumference. So we are going to rewrite the circumference formula in terms of D or R using the properties of equality. So let me show you what that means. Okay, so let me just show you what that means. I'm going to go ahead and okay. So let me use this, and I am going to just make two circles. 1 and 2. And over here, I'm going to say circumference is equal to pi times diameter. Over here, I'm going to say circumference is equal to 2 pi r. Okay? And so when I say diameter, that means this whole thing is the diameter, right? When I am showing you what circumference is. So this is my D, this whole thing. And then if I have this, just this much is my radius. Okay, so now we are going to now go ahead and rewrite the circumference formula in terms of D or R using the properties of equality. Okay, so let's start with this one. What is circumference? We've already written that. Circumference is equal to pi d. In this case, circumference is equal to 2 pi r. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are trying to find what would the diameter be. Okay, so in order to find the diameter, I am going to use the division property of equality. Okay, and I am going to divide both sides by pi, because whatever I do on one side, I've got to do exactly the same thing on the other side of the equation. And so I'm left with this, and this cancels each other out. I get 1. And so D is equal to circumference divided by pi. Okay, or I can write it like this. D is equal to circumference divided by pi. All right, same thing. If I was doing the other one, I would go and how do I find the radius? So I am going to do the division property of equality, because the opposite of multiplication is that. And I'm going to divide both sides by 2 pi, because whatever I do on one side of the inequality, I do the same thing on the other side. And this becomes 1. So my radius is going to equal circumference divided by 2 pi. Okay, and so I can also write it as how r is equal to circumference divided by 2 pi. So if I was just trying to find, the diameter or the radius, if the circumference was given to me, that's exactly what I would be doing. All right, so let's go ahead and we are going to do a problem up here. All right. So let's look at this question. Just question number 3, and I'm going to take you again across. All right, so let's look at this question. One of the largest water fountains in the world, Singapore's Fountain of Wealth, consists of a circular bronze ring that has a circumference of 66 meters. So C is provided to you. Okay? All right, now let's see why this is. Okay, so it has circumference of 66 meters. Find the approximate diameter of the fountain's bronze ring. Use 3.14 for pi and then round to the nearest hundredth. So based on what I just showed you over here, okay, what is diameter equal to? Circumference over pi. And I just showed you how to do that. So we are going to use that same formula. And we are going to do D is equal to circumference over pi. And then we are going to just substitute the values, because what did we get for circumference over here is 66. So now I'm just going to change it to an approximation, because I'm about to change the value of pi to an approximation. So D is approximately equal to 66 divided by 3.14, or 3 and 1400. And then when I divide this, I am going to get diameter is approximately equal to 21 and 200 meters. So that's how much your diameter is going to be. So the approximate diameter of the fountain's bronze ring is about 21 and 200 meters. All right, let's do one last problem. And in this one, let's look at this one. Find the approximate radius of a circle with a circumference of 70 and 8200 inches. So it's given me the circumference. Use 3.14 for pi and round to the nearest hundredth. So what I had just shown you earlier over here was, what is R? R is equal to circumference divided by 2 pi. So I am now going to put that over here. Okay, so we said circumference is equal to 2 pi, yes, 2 pi r, right? That's what it was earlier. So when we calculated the radius, we had, what had we done? We had divided this. Okay, and so we got radius is equal to circumference divided by 2 pi. So we are going to use this formula now. Okay, so here we go. Radius is equal to circumference divided by 2 pi. We've been given the circumference of the circle as 70 and 8200. Okay, and now, and this is going to be divided by 2 pi. And now I'm going to use an approximation, because the sign, because now I'm changing it, the pi, to 3.14, which is an approximate value. So 70 and 8200 over 2 times 3 and 1400. Okay, and so then when we simplify this, we are going to end up with R is approximately equal to 11 and 2800. Okay, so the approximate length of the radius of a circle that has a 70 and 8200 inch circumference is about 11 and 2800 inches. So this is how we calculate the circumference. Please remember, 2 radiuses make a diameter. Circumference is the distance outside a circle, and there's a relationship between circumference and diameter. It doesn't matter the size of the circle, you will always get the same value of pi when you divide the circumference by the diameter. So that is why circumference is pi times diameter, or 2 pi r, because 2 radiuses make 1 diameter. Have a great day, everyone. The next lesson is going to be about the area of circles.